When a famous cartel kingpin like Joaquin El Chapo Guzman or Nemesio El Mencho Oseguera is finally captured or killed by the Mexican military, the global media always celebrates it as a massive victory. They claim the cartel has been decapitated. They claim the war is finally being won. As the smoke clears from the latest strikes against the CJNG in Jalisco, the reality on the ground tells a story the headlines will not. The government did not win the territory, they just created a new front line. Territory shifts become evident the morning after a kingpin falls, revealing a terrifying geographic reality. The government does not regain control of the territory. Instead, security in over 20 different states instantly collapses. The violence does not stop, it violently multiplies. Why does eliminating the leader of a massive criminal organization actually make the country more dangerous? And why is the Mexican military physically incapable of holding the territory they just won back? In this video, you are going to discover why the physical geography of Mexico is the greatest military defense system ever built for organized crime. In just a moment, I will show you why the landscape itself guarantees that taking out a single cartel boss will always trigger a catastrophic, geography-driven war. To understand why the Mexican government cannot simply send the army to wipe out the cartels, the first clue lies in the massive, terrifying mountain ranges that completely dominate the country. The western coast of Mexico is guarded by a colossal wall of jagged rock known as the Sierra Madre Occidental. This mountain range stretches for nearly 1,000 miles. Buried deep inside these absolutely brutal vertical mountains is a specific geographic zone known as the Golden Triangle. The Golden Triangle is where the borders of three massive Mexican states naturally collide: Sinaloa, Durango, and Chihuahua. This specific intersection of geography is the ultimate impenetrable fortress for organized crime. Unlike the flat deserts of the north, where a military convoy can easily roll down a paved highway, the Golden Triangle is a nightmare of extreme verticality. It is a sprawling maze of incredibly deep, plunging canyons, completely severed peaks, and dense, suffocating pine forests. There are almost no paved roads that actually lead into the heart of the triangle. The terrain is so violently steep and isolated that conventional military tactics are completely useless. You cannot send a massive column of armored federal transport trucks into the Golden Triangle because there is simply no ground for them to drive on. The only way in or out is through tiny winding dirt paths that are easily rigged with massive explosives or guarded by heavily armed cartel sentries who can see the military coming from miles away. But you might be thinking, if the military knows the cartels are hiding deep in the Golden Triangle, why do they not just fly over and bomb the massive drug manufacturing labs from the air? The answer lies in the physical shape of the mountains. Because the canyons in the Sierra Madre are so incredibly deep and narrow, they create massive invisible geographic blind spots. The cartels literally carve thousands of tiny, completely hidden airplane runways directly into the sides of the vertical cliffs or deep down in the valley floors. Because these runways are surrounded on all sides by towering walls of solid rock, conventional military radar simply cannot see them. A cartel pilot flying a small, low-altitude Cessna loaded with millions of dollars in narcotics can easily vanish into the mountain maze, completely invisible to the federal government. The geography of the Golden Triangle is so physically oppressive that the cartels do not even need to fight the military head-on. The mountains simply swallow them whole. But a fortress of invisible mountains is only half of the terrifying equation. To actually fight a war against the Mexican military and win, the cartels need a massive, endless supply of heavy weaponry. And this leads us to the second geographic anomaly of Mexico, the Iron River. When most people think of the massive 2,000-mile border between the United States and Mexico, they only think about what is moving north. They picture the billions of dollars in illegal narcotics carefully smuggled across the desert into American cities. But that massive border is actually a lethal two-way geographic street, because it is strictly illegal for average citizens to purchase high-powered military-grade firearms inside Mexico. The cartels cannot legally manufacture or buy their own weapons locally, so they just buy them in the United States and drive them south. Every single year, an estimated 200,000 illegal firearms, including massive armor-piercing 50-caliber sniper rifles, belt-fed machine guns, and millions of rounds of ammunition, are smuggled directly across the southern border into Mexico. This endless, unstoppable flow of heavy weaponry is known as the Iron River. It is geographically impossible for the Mexican military or customs officials to physically check every one of the millions of commercial shipping trucks and passenger cars driving south across the border every day. The sheer volume of continental traffic completely overwhelms the system. Because of this geographic proximity to the largest civilian gun market on the entire planet, the cartels are massively outgunning the local Mexican police forces. A tiny isolated police department in the mountains of Michoacan simply cannot defend itself against a massive cartel convoy armed with dozens of American-made military-grade weapons. If you are fascinated by the brutal ways physical geography controls global war and politics, hit that subscribe button right now. But the cartel's geographic advantage is not limited to the northern border. To understand how they generate the billions of dollars needed to buy that river of weapons, the answer lies in the ocean, Mexico's western coastline. Along the Pacific Ocean is a smuggler's paradise. The coast is jagged and packed with thousands of unregulated, roadless marine coves and hidden mangrove swamps. Hidden along that coastline are two of the most strategic locations in the global drug trade, the mega ports of Lázaro Cárdenas and Manzanillo. These deep water commercial ports are literal gateways to Asia. Right now, the cartel's most profitable and lethal product is not grown in the dirt, it is synthetic fentanyl. To make thousands of pounds of fentanyl in hidden mountain labs, cartels need a steady, large supply of precursor chemicals shipped across the Pacific from chemical factories in China. The ports of Lázaro Cárdenas and Manzanillo process millions of 20-ton steel shipping containers every year. It is physically impossible for the Mexican Navy to search them all. Cartels bribe port officials to ignore specific containers, allowing thousands of tons of deadly raw chemicals to flow off cargo ships and straight into the impenetrable fortress of the Sierra Madre Mountains. The geography of the Pacific coast guarantees that maritime interdiction by the government is nearly impossible. But this brings us to the final, incredibly terrifying geographic reality, the violent vacuum. If Mexico's geography is the ultimate impregnable fortress, what actually happens when the federal government finally manages to capture or kill a massive cartel kingpin like El Chapo or El Mencho? Why does the violence instantly skyrocket? The answer lies in the total inability of the government to actually hold the land. When a massive unified cartel leader is suddenly removed, the enormous criminal empire sitting safely inside the Golden Triangle does not just peacefully surrender to the military. Because the terrain is so incredibly isolated and cut off from the federal capital, the government cannot rapidly flood the mountains with thousands of permanent soldiers, build new police stations, and instantly install a new lawful economy. The geography literally prevents the government from filling the power vacuum. So instead, the massive cartel rapidly splinters into a terrifying hydra of geographic fragmentation. Without a central kingpin holding the massive empire together, dozens of lower-level, highly violent regional commanders instantly realize they are protected by the mountains. Because the plunging canyons physically isolate these different cells, it is impossible for a new king to take over quickly. Instead of one big cartel, you get 20 small ones fighting for every single canyon. These heavily armed, fragmented factions begin fighting a massive, chaotic geographical civil war to instantly seize control of the highly lucrative mountain drug routes and the strategic Pacific shipping ports. Taking out one kingpin does not destroy the cartel. Because of the extreme isolation of the terrain, it simply creates 50 new hyper-violent warlords fighting over the exact same mountains. Ultimately, the terrifying reality of Mexico proves an incredibly dark truth about human civilization. We desperately want to believe that governments hold total, absolute power over their borders simply by drawing a line on a map, but the brutal vertical landscape of the Sierra Madre and the sprawling, impossible to police ports of the Pacific prove that physical geography always has the final say. A stunning 2023 study revealed that the cartels have officially become Mexico's fifth largest employer. They operate as a massive shadow state, providing illegal jobs, building private dirt roads, and asserting total military dominance. In these isolated regions, the cartel is the only economy that physically exists, simply because the formal government is unable to reach them. The cartels do not just survive in Mexico, they survive because the geography of Mexico physically protects them from the modern world. Ultimately, taking out a kingpin doesn't change the map. It just sets the map on fire. I hope you enjoyed learning the dark truth behind the most dangerous geographic fortress on Earth. If you did, please subscribe to my channel. Thanks for watching, and I will see you next time.